But it's made in a dry county.
Yeah, we're made in a dry county in Lynchburg, Tennessee, due to a referendum, and when the United States went dry during Prohibition, after when we came out of Prohibition in the late 20s, that the town decided to stay dry. So we're still dry to this day. We can make Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey there, but if you come and visit us in Lynchburg, Tennessee, you won't be able to go to a bar and enjoy a fine drop of Jack Daniel's whiskey because of that fact.
So you'll have to buy a bottle and then jump over the border. Now, Grant,
Yeah.
many of us are familiar, of course, with the Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 Tennessee Sour Mash whiskey. It's a very popular label. We see it everywhere. Talk about its popularity and how that one is particularly handcrafted.
Yeah, we've been making, as I said before, making Jack Daniel's whiskey since 1866, and from that original recipe. And Tennessee whiskey is a combination of three grains. So if you look at American whiskey and you look at Tennessee whiskey, say it is Scotch whiskey, American whiskey is a combination of three grains: corn, rye, and malted barley. So that gives us a unique flavor profile that makes us uniquely American from that native Indian corn. And if you look at whiskey, say, from the old world, say a single malt whiskey comes from one particular grain source, single malt whiskey. So Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey will use a combination of about 80% corn, 12% rye, a rye and a mash bill, and the rest is that malted barley to make up that 100% grain bill. So that will give us a distinctive flavor profile in our Jack Daniel's whiskey.
And you could really taste some of those grains. Now, in 2015, Jack Daniel's developed the first new mash recipe, I believe, in 150 years, which was a single barrel rye. Talk about the rise in popularity of rye whiskies.
Yeah, thanks to resurgence of classic cocktails around the world and the emergence of some amazing bars and cocktail bars around. In fact, Singapore has a high concentration of some of the world's finest bars, in the world. And through this rise in popularity in terms of cocktail culture, rye whiskey has really come back to fruition. Back in about 2007, there are only sort of 3 brands of rye whiskey on the market, and to this day now, there's about 60 plus brands. And we've decided, you know what, and all that time from about 1866 until about 2015, we only made one whiskey. It was the Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey brand. So we decided, we're going to give a rye whiskey a go. So we crafted a unique offering, which is our rye whiskey, which incorporates 70% of grain in that entry point versus that 80% corn. So what that gives us, it gives us a beautiful sort of robust style of American whiskey that is, quite different to our Tennessee whiskey, but it's going to give the whiskey consumer, a drinker, essentially a beautiful new whiskey experience.